In this tutorial, I'll show you how to mask the girl with one of the newer tools in Photoshop, at least the newer selection tools, called Select Object. I'm going to go over to my toolbar here on the left and click and hold on that fourth tool down and pick Object Selection Tool. All right. Now, next I'll hit Command or Control plus a few times to zoom in so I can see the girl that I'm trying to mask here, almost filling the frame here. There we go. And now with this tool selected, I'm going to drag out a rectangle that contains the object or the girl that I want to mask here. So I'll click up at the top right, or top left rather, drag down toward the bottom right, adjust the size of that so it's just about exactly what I want, and then I'm going to release. Now you can see that the marching ants have surrounded the girl, really well on the dress and the leg. Up at the head, there's some things we're going to have to fix up, but this is a great starting point for our selection. So to fix it up, I'm going to go up to the top of the window here. There's a couple of buttons, one called Select Subject, another one called Select and Mask, and I'm going to click on Select and Mask. That puts me into a special task space that Photoshop has created just for fixing up layer masks or selections, same thing. And there's a bunch of sliders on the right here that let me adjust different aspects of that selection or mask. And on the top left, there's a very small toolbar that has tools that are going to let me refine this mask. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go over to the right here. I'm going to take this opacity slider and slide it over to 100%. Now I'm seeing the masked out area is completely black, and it's very easy on this image then to see where the defects are in my mask. All right, let's work on this in stages. The first thing I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to do a Command or Control plus to click in a little bit more so I can see that hair a little better. And now I'm going to start using the tools on the top left. And I'm going to click on that third tool down, which is really just a paintbrush, right? It's going to paint with white and black on the mask. And remember that white reveals and black conceals. So we want to paint with black, which is taking away from the selection. So I'll click on that minus, and then I'm going to click and drag in this white area just to remove some of that from the selected area. I won't try and go crazy here, but I'll take away most of that white just by clicking and dragging around there. All right. Now to clean up this area in the braids, I'll go and click that second mask. This is what Photoshop calls Refine Edge. It's basically telling Photoshop, hey, I'm going to click and drag over some area. I want you to try and figure out if this should be part of the selected area or the masked out area. And then I'm just going to click in the black and drag up into the white, hoping that it'll decide that that's part of the black and not the white. Okay, it's doing a pretty nice job there, right? I'll do the same over on the left. Click and drag up. I'll scrub down again, see if it'll... There we go. So it's really cleaned that area up a little bit. We could go in with our brush, make it very small, zoom in some more, and do a better and better job at masking out these areas that we don't want. And in truth, layer masks are somewhat like this. I mean, you can fiddle with them ad infinitum. The goal is to try and get a mask that's good enough for doing what you want to do. So let me do a Command minus to zoom out a little bit now so I can see the whole object that we're masking here. Maybe one more Command or Control minus to zoom out. There we go. So now you can see there's a little bit of haloing, there's a little bit of jagginess down here on the leg, but now I'll use some more of these sliders on the right. I'll take that radius slider up at a couple of clicks. What I'm asking Photoshop to do now is look 2 pixels either side of the marching ants to see if it can decide on if it can improve the mask, and you can see that it has. Okay, next, let me zoom in a little bit with my Control Plus. You can see that the selection on the dress is a little bit jagged. I'm going to take this smooth slider and slide it over a couple, and it's cleared that right up. So that's pretty nice. Control minus to zoom out. Now you can see there's kind of a uniform halo around both the legs and the hair. So what I'd like to do is shrink the selection down a little bit. I'm going to scroll down in that panel on the right till I can see this slider at the bottom called Shift Edge. And that lets me just expand or contract this mask ever so slightly. And I'm going to take that slider and slide it to the left because I want to shrink down the selection. There we go. That's just about taken out all of the haloing. So I'll click the OK button at the bottom right. Now we're seeing a marching ants view of the selection, and I can go down to the bottom of the layer stack, click that little rectangle with the hole in it that says Add Mask when I hover over it. And now I've got a really excellent mask for that girl, just to be able to see it a little better. I'll create a new pixel layer here by clicking on the new layer button at the bottom right. I'll move that layer down under the girl, and I'll fill that new layer with black. And now you can see a really very nice, mask. There's just a little bit of white up in the braids. If we really do want to get that out, this probably wouldn't show in the final image, but just to go the whole 9 yards here, I'll click in a little more with my Command or Control Plus so I can see things very nicely. I'm going to go get a paintbrush, make it much smaller, right? Maybe that size, and then I'm going to click on the mask for the layer with the pixels of the girl. So I'm editing the mask, and now as I click and drag over those white squares, I can paint black onto the mask, and black conceals. So I'm concealing those little remnants of the sky that we could still see. All right, so let's Command minus to zoom back out. Scroll back up. Now we have a very nicely masked girl. There's just a tiny bit of white down at the bottom there. Let's go get that just to make this a complete job. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'm ready to copy this layer into the composite image we're building. Before I do it, I could rename it Girl, and now I can copy it into my composite document the same way we did with the moon. We right-click on that layer and say Duplicate Layer, and then change the document where the duplicate of this layer will end up. Okay, so that's how we make this really fine mask of a non-trivial subject here, the girl watching the full moon. Okay, hope that made sense to you, and thanks to the newer Photoshop content-aware selection tools for making that process much easier than it would have been, let's say, 5 or 6 years ago. Okay, give it a try, and if you have any questions, make sure to email them to me. Thank you.